KOA John, or just John, can you tell us a little bit about your background for people who don't know you in the Warband or Bannerlord scene? Like background, where you've been, what you do, your experience.
Okay. I have been playing Warband since 2010, open beta, and I founded KOA in August of 2010, and it's been around since then. We've been off and on a little bit in recent years, but yeah.
So, up until recently, what has been your general experience with Bannerlord so far, single player and multiplayer?
I played maybe like 50 hours of single player. It is pretty good. I think they did a really good job on it. Um, Multiplayer, I played a lot. I have like 100 hours or more in multiplayer. Um, it's okay. They're slowly making it a little better. It needs some help, but I think it'll get there maybe eventually, hopefully.
So you said you enjoyed single player so far. Can you needle it down to like what specifically in single player you enjoyed? As in an upgrade from Warband.
Upgrades. I mean, the graphics, obviously, and bigger battles, more equipment, more swords and armor and all that kind of stuff. I liked the diplomacy menus and all that kind of stuff that they added. The UI is better. Um, that's about the good parts, I think, that I like more. And the scenes. They did a good job of expanding all the scenes in the game, too.
Well then, how about multiplayer so far?
Like, good, bad, or...
Yes, like a multiplayer as a standalone.
Graphics are better. Um, Melee combat on a detailed scale is not as fluid as Warband. Bigger battles are cooler, and they're more epic in scale, but it's a little underwhelming when it comes to like if you get in a 1v1 fight, you notice the combat's flaws, I guess, and it's a little lackluster compared to Warband. It was very responsive.
When I was speaking to Cedrix in the last interview, he had made the comment that it felt like cavalry was way too strong, and offhandedly mentioned that infantry didn't feel nearly as impactful as they could be in Warband, whereas in Warband, for instance, as I'm sure you well know, one infantry can make or break a fight in that he can, like, his abilities to 1v3 people, sometimes. Whereas in Bannerlord, that's either unheard of or downright impossible given proper circumstances. Do the classes feel unbalanced to you?
Maybe a little bit. And that, I think, maybe comes back to the fact that you can couch lance and it kills someone in one hit. And sometimes on infantry, you have to hit guys like, 5 or 6 times sometimes before they die.
Mm.
And also archers. Headshots don't one-shot very often unless you got a crossbow. But yeah, they don't one-shot either. So nothing really one-shots in the game except a couch lance, which is particularly strong right now. And horses bump a lot. Horses bumps are kind of OP.
Is it the couch that's the main weapon, or is it the horse health, you would say? Because the horses are far more durable due to lack of damage from infantry weapons.
Uh, maybe a little bit of both. Certain horses, particularly the Swadian horses and maybe a couple others, are pretty hefty, but unarmored horses, they're pretty light and they can get shot down pretty easily.
Previous people have been talking about the lack of a custom server, and that the lack of one has been severely negating the ability of the community to basically thrive, to make what they want to see happen. Do you have any opinion on that? An opinion why there isn't a custom server, or if it would be beneficial at all?
For everyone to have like their own custom server, yeah, we would be able to test the combat easier. We'd be able to mess around with how the game works, I guess, in a private scenario. So like you could practice shooting crossbows at each other and stuff, and see if there's how the damage is just different, and all kinds of stuff you could do with private servers if they come out.
Do you have any inkling as to why the multiplayer scene has died off so rapidly? It seems as though that the servers are in the state that Warband was in 2 years ago in terms of population density.
Well, that's going to be like a multitude of reasons. There's going to be new games come out. I think it's natural for population to decrease on a game. Let's see. I mean, besides those things, the game is unfinished, right? And Tailworld's released an unfinished product. And I think a lot of people thought the game was more finished than they thought it was when they bought it. And maybe they'll come back later. Maybe they won't. I guess we'll find out.
Do you think the criticism that so far has been put against the devs in terms of communication or lack of updates that people want to see has been fair?
I don't know, dude. I can't say that I see every post that the devs make, right? But It does seem, I don't know, it does seem like they don't respond very much. They're pretty silent. I don't know if maybe it's a language barrier thing, or if it's like maybe they're told not to interact as much. I'm not sure.
So there's a tournament going on right now, and you formed the KOA new team with multiple new members, notables being like Porta, yourself, of course. What drove you to make a team? Or at least bring a team to the tournament?
Well, I saw a need for somebody to make a good tournament, and it didn't seem like anybody else was going to step up to do it, so I just stepped up to do it and got some guys that I thought could do a decent job at it, and we made the admin team. And I brought back KOA because, you know, it's fun to play with your friends, and Porta's an old-time KOA guy, so I wanted to bring him back, and he wanted to play with us again, so that's how that happened.
Could be a controversial piece, but there is the thing about Lister's tournament. I heard that it died out. Is there a specific reason why it died out like that? It seemed like it was healthy when it started. And he's tried to start another one concurrently with this tournament. Is there a reason for that?
Les is a controversial figure in the community. You can look into that for yourself, but as far as his tournament goes, I think maybe he ran into some problems because he tried to like start it up right after ours, and usually that doesn't work out very well when two tournaments try to run side by side. But I wish him the best of luck, and hopefully he can get some more teams to sign up.
Is there just not enough big enough population for two tournaments going at the same time? Like, what's stopping a team from saying, okay, let's join both these tournaments, and if we lose one, we're still in the other? Why don't people just join both?
I can't really speak for everyone else. I can speak for our team. I decided not to sign up for his tournament. One big reason was because I don't think we would have time to play in both, and then also both tournaments have different rule sets, and you gotta learn all that, and it gets a little confusing for your team, and yeah, it's a little bit too much work for me personally.
That's fair. Do you have any future hopes for the multiplayer scene? Like, is there anything around the corner that you want to come from this?
From what? The tournament?
Multiplayer.
Oh, from multiplayer?
Multiplayer. Like, if you were able to see what the devs were planning or hoping would be a development, would it be in the way of a sale that brings in more players, or would it be in the way of a new system or custom servers?
Um, I think they need to interact with players that have played their game for thousands of hours, and I think that they need to have private servers. And I think if they take advice from players that have played for thousands of hours on their game, it'll end up in a better spot than it is right now. Yeah.
Do you think that there may have been an intentional effort to make it more accessible, the game more accessible to more players, which is why we see less of an ability for individual, like we're having the infantry conversation, less of an individual OP factor, like it's more team oriented? Do you think that was a conscious decision, or that was just something that they arrived to while developing the game? I realize that may be confusing the way I said it.
Actually, I do think it was a conscious decision. I think they it does seem like you have to play with your team more in Bannerlord than you could in Warband. You could literally carry your team, but in Bannerlord it's a little bit harder, especially if you're an archer. It's a little bit harder, so you have to play with your team. Your team has to injure the other players so that you can finish them off, stuff like that. But I don't know if it was the right decision, but I definitely think they did it on purpose. I think they buffed armor, they buffed hit points so that people could tank more hits, and that you would have to basically 2v1 someone to kill them, essentially, if they're good.
Yeah, and things like block delay, which in my opinion seem to do nothing but hamper someone's individual skill. It reduces your reaction time artificially.
Yeah, I don't know about that. I mean, I don't know if that was a good idea for them to do that, but they put it in there. That's their decision, I guess.
So I'm going to change gears over to Warband real quick, because the two games are still very much intertwined. The community is essentially the same. How do you feel about Warband in its current state as a competitive game? Is it a masterpiece like people have made it out to be, or is it not?
Competitively, like esports level, no, I don't think so. It needs some work. Especially when you look at the Master of the Flag spawns and all that kind of stuff that happens. Teams have to have an objective to go to, and I think that Bannerlord did a much better job at that, of forcing you to play for objectives with the ABC flags, 3 different flags in Bannerlord, whereas Warband just had 1 flag, so you can't really, you kind of do the same thing over and over again in Warband, and it can get a little stale sometimes.
What is the current state of the Warband competitive community? Is it healthy, would you say?
It depends on your definition.
I mean, as in its current state, would it be able to continue indefinitely on its own?
No, I don't think so. Because, well, I don't know. No, not competitively. Not native competitive. No, I don't think so. There's just going to be newer games that come out, and no, I think it's kind of done now.
Why do you think Warband lasted so long? And I realize Bannerlord still has a long way to go. As I said earlier, and it's early access, so we will see jumps in population. But even today, Warband's population, in terms of the competitive community, it rivals that of Bannerlord's. What brought so many people to Warband, and why do they stay there?
Warband is a fun team game. It's a team game, but you also can carry by yourself if you're good enough. So, whereas if you ever played like League of Legends, even if you do really well in that game, you can still lose. Even if you do amazing, you still lose. Where in Warband you can kind of carry, but you still need your team. They did a good balance of that. I think that's one aspect of why it still does good and why it's still alive. The other aspect of why it's still alive and running is community dedication. It's all community. the modders, the Siege server runners, the Battle server runners, the tournament hosts, the admins of everything, the player base. It's basically just the community as a whole that has kept the game alive so long.
Would you describe, as comparing Warband to Bannerlord again, would you describe Bannerlord's competitive community, or sorry, not the competitive community, would you describe Bannerlord's multiplayer community as healthy right now? As in, we both know that it's kind of on the low end, but is it growing?
Is it growing? No, it's not growing. There's a lot of polishing that needs to be done on Terrolds, and before we're really ready to get new players into Bannerlord. Because right now, even if you brought 1 million new players into the Bannerlord multiplayer community, you would see them all drop off pretty much within a month once they see that the game is in such unfinished state as it is.
Has the pacing of the updates been steady? As in, has it been noticeable to you?
I actually haven't been keeping up with the updates very much, but I haven't had to patch for, I don't know, it seems like it's been like 2 weeks. So I don't know. I mean, I don't know what's the average for patching. I mean, I could go look at other games and find out, but I don't really know.
Oh, no. No, that's fine. That's why I asked if it was noticeable. Like, if you're playing multiplayer regularly, do you notice things are different or changing as you go along or getting better?
Oh, okay. Yeah. They're trying. I think they're trying. You can see with I don't know how you say it, the Zuna map update.
Yeah.
They rolled it out, and somehow they made it. I don't want to be like too harsh on them, but it was worse after the update, and they got backlash from that, and they took it out. And I think they're working on it to make it better again. So, yeah, it's a long process.
At the end of the day, everyone does want just a better game. And to that end, is there anything, like, if for whatever reason, and say a dev was able to hear this, or heard something you say, what would you suggest to help the game right now?
To help the multiplayer grow, or single player?
Yes, multiplayer, because single player seems quite healthy on its own.
I agree. Single players are doing really well. I don't know, man. Like I said, you got to get things polished. You need more maps. You need interaction with the people who are dedicated to your game, because they know your game better than you do. And some people don't like to hear that, but it's true. And if you really want to, if you really want to sharpen your game and iron out all the problems with it, you're gonna have to talk to your player base and figure out, what's wrong, what's working, what's not working. And without more communication with the player base, I don't know if that's gonna happen.
Okay. Now, I don't know if you would describe yourself as one of the pillars in the community, but you have been around for a very, very long time as a leader in the KOA. What do you plan on doing next with your clan after this tournament? Do you plan on hosting tournaments until something big comes around, or what do you have planned?
Yeah, I'm kind of, I don't know if you ever played Dark Souls, but I'm like the stone dragons from the cinematic. I'm like,
Yeah, outlast everybody.
I'm like one of the ancient beings that came out. I don't know, dude. Actually, I'll give you a little preview. We were gonna plan on maybe hosting NAB 2, and I don't know what the future holds for any of us, but if I have the time, I'll probably do another tournament. We'll see what happens. As far as the KOA clan goes, as long as there's tournaments, we're probably going to be there.
That's good to hear. But can you give a little quick uh, explanation as to what a NAP2 is, or what it is?
Oh, so right now NAB1's going on in Bannerlord. It's the biggest Bannerlord tournament so far, I believe, and hopefully it'll be the most successful. NAB2 would be the follow-up to that.
Yes, what
It
does it
would be
stand for?
North American Battle of the Blades. Um, it would be a tournament that hopefully has better rules and is more polished and has better player tier ratings and better team rankings and all that kind of stuff, and just better overall.
One final question: Do you think that Till rules should be more hands-on when it comes to multiplayer? Like they in Warband, they had a very laissez-faire approach where as long as you didn't break any rules of like advertising or selling things on servers, you're fine to do whatever you want. Should they be more hands-on in terms of moderation, or more hands-on in terms of hosting tournaments themselves? Because they would definitely get the word out to more teams. Could they promote community better?
Um, you know, they, I think they should try to do that. I don't know how successful it would be with their lack of communication history. But yeah, I think they should try to host tournaments and get more involved with the community, hopefully. And as far as like moderation goes, I think, yeah, they could be a little bit more hands-on with that. Maybe like getting rid of really, really toxic people.
And with that, that actually brings the whole thing to a close, I believe. That's all my questions. So thank you very much, John, for answering all of those. I know it took quite a set amount of time, but thank you.
Oh yeah, no problem, dude. It was fun, and hopefully, Bannerlord can be awesome for everybody that wants to play it. Appreciate the interview.